Well, you're never alone with Magic in the Morning. We've always got wonderful guests in with us here. And Mike Barrett with us. We mentioned, headed into this, that we're going to talk insurance needs and important information. Come on, not everybody can understand the world of insurance. So good policies, and Mike Barrett checking in remotely. How you doing, buddy?
I am well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. Always good to have you on board here, clearing up a lot of the questions and things we just don't really get our heads wrapped around in insurance. And... You know, I think it's a good time of year. You remember you even posted up some pictures of this 2 weekends ago there. You had some snow out in your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
We had some snow here yesterday. We had sleet. We had rain yesterday. Winter safety tips when it comes to insurance. Now, this could be a forever conversation, Mike. But
it could be.
Where would you like to go with this in the world of insurance?
Sure. So let's start with the home. Very simple stuff. The home. So what we're talking about really, remember that when you have a homeowner's insurance policy or any insurance policy for that matter, you have a contract. And in that contract, it is incumbent upon you to take appropriate steps to mitigate the exposure of loss. Not that your failure to do so would really become a problem. They would still pay it. That's not like there's an exclusion saying, oh, you didn't turn off your outdoor water spigot, you're not getting covered for this frozen pipe. That wouldn't happen. But there, no matter how good a claims process can be, there's always going to be a level of stress, anxiety. It's a process, right? No matter how good it is. So what can you do? Mitigate loss. It's a great idea. Simple steps. So simple. As we're getting prepared for winter, if you're like me, I have 2 outdoor water spigots for my hoses. Before I put the interior shutoffs on, I used to put insulated covers on them, which you can buy at any hardware store for pennies, really. I mean, they're very inexpensive, and it's going to just sit right on there and hopefully keep it from getting too cold. Not a bad way to handle it. If you have the interior shutoffs, shut them off. I have one where I actually have to back drain it because of the way that it runs out, so I have to shut it off and back drain it to make sure there's no water in there so I don't get that expansion when it's below freezing and I don't get the frozen plumbing. So that's a very simple step. Other things you can do is making sure that you're taking the appropriate steps to go around the property and make sure your wood stove is ready for use. Some people have already fired them up, so hopefully they've already done the process of making sure that those are inspected and ready to go and safe for use. You want to make sure your chimneys are clean. You want to make sure your chimneys are inspected. A lot of people don't realize this, but chimney fires can happen any number of ways, and sometimes chimney fires can happen that you don't know about. But when they do happen, they can cause problems where you could have some cracks and exposures on the inside of your chimney. That terracotta could get, impacted by it. So, it's a good idea to get some eyes on that and make sure it's not a problem. We see a lot of claims payouts with people who are getting their chimneys clean where they find that there indeed is a crack, and that's an exposure, and it's most likely the result of what was a chimney fire. So you want to really be on top of that. If you do have a problem with your chimney and you have a hot fire going, it does not take much for that fire to find a way out because of the oxygen in the air, and it can come out and cause a catastrophic loss. So
Mike,
very important that you do that.
Mike, if I could jump in here, okay? This is going to be more specific for homeowners, but back when we were spreading the word about Fire Safety Week, we had John in from St. J Fire. We also had Dan in from Linden Fire. Now, we know that a rental property has to have a working smoke detector, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Rental property required to have working, functional smoke and CO2 detectors and fire extinguishers.
Okay, so what we talked about with these 2 fabulous gentlemen is if you're a homeowner out there, they will come and inspect your house, and they will also provide a homeowner with free carbon monoxide and smoke detectors. But this is for homeowners. So that is something, too, that an insurance company is going to be looking for, too, right, in an effort to mitigate that threat.
Right, and actually, truth be told, every insurance company expects, and it's required, that you have smoke detectors. They don't necessarily mandate the CO2 in owner-occupied properties in most cases, but it's strongly recommended given the histories of the poisoning. Also, it is required that you have a fire extinguisher. So, make sure that those are charged. Make sure that they're ready to go. Make sure the batteries are updated. If you have hardwired, they're going to have a battery backup if it's been a really long time since you swapped them out. Swap them out. Remember that CO2 and, actually all the above that we're talking about, the CO2, the smoke detectors, the fire extinguishers, all have to be maintained. So if you look at the CO2 and the smoke detectors and look at the data on them, check to see how old they are. They don't last forever. I think most last 5 years. Some are lasting 10 years, which is great. But you should be able to determine that by looking at the back of it. And then fire extinguishers, there's a place locally that will service and recharge your fire extinguisher if it needs to be, so that you're one step ahead of that. And interestingly enough, Jeff, we always tell people placement of a fire extinguisher is pretty crucial.
Oh, very crucial.
Because most people, when I say, well, where's your fire extinguisher? Well, it's over here, and they open up their cabinet and they dig way to the back, and there it is. And I know aesthetically you don't necessarily want to be looking at a fire extinguisher. I get that. But the commonality here, the thing you need to think about the most for safety purposes, is to have that fire extinguisher in a way that could give you a choice. So as the fire is progressing, you have a choice to grab the fire extinguisher and try to battle the blaze, or get an exit. It needs to be near an exit. You need to find a way to get out safely if the fire extinguisher is not going to be a good course for you.
Well,
so that's something to think about.
Well, also, too, sorry to jump on top of you there, but you mentioned earlier, we don't have a lot of time left, but you mentioned earlier the importance of having your chimneys and furnaces inspected. Another thing to think about is dryer vents, because they cause a fire threat, whether it's electric or propane-fired, but a carbon monoxide threat if it is propane fired, because it'll back up and not vent properly. Exactly. Yeah. So these, and especially now, with all the new venting systems for even boilers and furnaces, especially for propane units, a lot of these devices are now venting on the side of the house. So you're going to want to make sure you're prepared for that and get the mindset of, okay, when we start getting that snowfall, we got to make sure that area is clear so there's enough ventilation for that, so that it's not coming back into your property. This has been a great subject. I think perfectly timed as the official heating season now kicking off. Mike, if anybody has any questions or insurance needs, how can they get in touch with you?
You can always give us a call, 748-5224. I'll be a little bit more difficult today, tomorrow, and probably Friday because of the work being done on the Memorial Bridge, the St. John's Memorial Bridge, otherwise known as the Portland Street Bridge. But we are located on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, so if you just kind of follow the signs, you can kind of make your way through. You can find us online nice and easy, thebarrettagency.com, where you can get a free home Murado quote. And, of course, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Google, Barrett Insurance Agency.
Well, too, the detour that we've heard is up Concord Avenue. Once they get to Portland, they can turn right and come on down and see you guys.
It looks like you can't, but you can.
Mike,
so, yes.
Great to have you here. Stay safe, stay healthy, give our best to the family. We'll chat good policies again next week, okay?
Fantastic. Absolutely. Same to you, Jeff.
All righty. Bye-bye now. It is Good Policies. You just heard Mike say you'll find them on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. You'll find the latest from Shawn Mendez coming up in minutes.